Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our program on Srimad Bhagavatam study. In this class, we are going to start today a new chapter, that is chapter number 18 of canto number 1, and we will try to cover the first 17 verses of this chapter. The title of this chapter is Parikshit Cursed by a Brahmana Boy. Overall, this is our 46th class. For other previous classes, we request our followers to refer to our Gita Online Study YouTube video channel, where you can find the previous classes. So you can go to the playlist of Srimad Bhagavatam Study, where you will find the previous videos. We will start with the Mangalacharan prayers. So today Mangalacharan prayer is by
Mangala Mataji.
Mangala Mataji. Mangalacharan by Mangala Mataji. Very nice. Mangala Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yes.
I will start Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Om Ajnana Timirandascha Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavancha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वतैं सावधूतं परजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम
Very
नमो
Yeah.
ओम
Continue.
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, थैंक यू।
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much. Very nicely recited. So we will go to the recap of the previous class, and today's recap was to be done by Manish ji, Manish Kulkarni ji, but Manish Kulkarni Prabhu is busy and he requested me to do the recap. So we'll do one by one. So in the previous class, we had covered the verses from 28 to 45, where we discussed about Parikshit Maharaj expertly gives residence to the ironically surrendered Kali. So in the first three verses, we discussed about how Kali surrendered to Parikshit Maharaj. In verse number 28, we discussed that Maharaj Parikshit specified the personality of religion, that is the Dharma, the bull, and Dharani, the earth. And then he took up his sword to kill Kali, who was tormenting Dharma, the bull. Then, when Kali found that king is willing to kill him, he abandoned his dress as a Kshatriya and then completely surrendered to him. And then Parikshit accepted his surrender and did not kill Kali. So these were the few episodes that we discussed from first 3 verses in the previous class. Then in the next 4 verses, Parikshit asks Kali to leave his kingdom. If Kali is allowed to act as a man god or executive head, irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, etc., will certainly abound. So why Parikshit Maharaj wanted Kali to leave his kingdom? Because if Kali would be there, then specifically the leaders of the society, which is the executive head, the kings, will embrace these irreligious principles like greed, falsehood, etc. Then Parikshit mentions to Kali that you cannot remain in my kingdom, because in my kingdom sacrifices are performed, religious principles are performed. So there is no place for you. And in these ceremonies, in these yajnas, we worship the Supreme Lord. Although people worship the demigods, but ultimately they are worshipping the Supreme Lord. So there is no place for a dharmic person or an irreligious person like Kali in my kingdom, where everything is very much based on the dharmic practices. Then Kali has already taken shelter. He becomes very fearful. He says, he makes a request now to Parikshit Maharaj. He says that, where will I go? Everywhere in this kingdom, in this world, in this earth planet is your kingdom. You are the Samrat. So wherever I will go, I will find you. So please give me some places where I can stay. Then Parikshit Maharaj allows and agrees for 4 places to Kali. One is gambling, drinking, prostitution, and animal slaughter. So Parikshit Maharaj mentioned that you can stay in these 4 places. I can allow you. In fact, what happened is Parikshit Maharaj actually has tricked Kali. So Parikshit Maharaj knew that in his kingdom there are no such places. So practically Kali will not be able to stay in his kingdom. Then Kali mentioned, before we go into what Kali said, we also discussed about Prabhupada recommending governments about how this principle of religion can be implemented in today's society. Here he gives some tips. Prabhupada ji is giving some tips to the leaders. The tips are that 2 days continuous compulsory fasting we will do, that will promote a spiritual atmosphere, and we will not allow men and women to remain unmarried for a long time. We will prohibit gambling and will prohibit animal slaughter, consumption of tobacco, intoxication, etc. So like this, Prabhupada in the purport mentions how the government can implement these principles which Parikshit is suggesting us in verse number 38. Then from verse number 39 to 40, in these 2 verses, Kali mentions that practically in your kingdom there is no such place. So Parikshit then agrees to give a 5th place to Kali, which is gold, where you will find accumulated gold. You can stay there. So we discussed what does accumulation of gold means. So it is all about over accumulated wealth, or you can also say illegal wealth, which is generally used mainly for sense gratification and all kind of abominous activities. So gold does not really here represent physical gold, or if somebody has used or consuming some gold jewelry or something like that, you need not start hitting your gold. That does not practically means that Kali is residing there, but it is mainly hinting that wherever there is over accumulated wealth or illegal money, generally illegal money is people would over accumulate. So if over accumulated gold is there, then there will also be falsity, intoxication, lust, envy, and enmity. So like that, 5th place was also given to Kali to reside. Then in the 41st verse, the theme changes, and in the 41st verse, Parikshit Maharaj or Sud Goswami is now mentioning that specifically kings, religionists, public leaders, brahmanas, and sannyasis should avoid these irreligious principles. In general, everyone should avoid, but most importantly, those who are at a leadership position. And who are at the leadership position? Kings, religionists. Religionist means religious leaders. And who are the religious leaders? Like brahmanas and sannyasis. Brahmana is the leader of the Varna system. In the Varnashram system, Varna system, Brahmana is the leader. In the ashram system, the sannyasi is the leader. So public leaders like politicians and so on, they should certainly avoid these irreligious principles. Then, in the next section, the glorious rule of Parikshit Maharaj has been described. What is mentioned in this section is that after this conversation with Kali, King Parikshit re-established Dharma. What we saw in this chapter was that Bull was being tormented by Kali Yuga. After fixing the place of Kali Yuga and managing it well, Parikshit Maharaj is mentioned that he has re-established the Dharma, and then he is successfully ruling the world now, due to which you are able to perform this sacrifice. So this is being mentioned by Sud Goswami, where he is mentioning to the sages of Naimisharanya that Parikshit Maharaj is ruling the world now, due to which you are able to perform this sacrifice. So why we mentioned that this sentence is in the present tense, and why it is in present tense? Because it is close to the past. Close to the past means that when this verse was being spoken by Sud Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj had already departed from the world. But since he had only departed very recently, the kingdom or the rule that he had established, the governance that he had established, was still working properly. So because of that influence, it is being mentioned here that he is successfully ruling the world even now, due to which you are able to perform this sacrifice. So like this, the summary of the previous class we discussed. So we will now discuss the next chapter on the 18th chapter. And in the 18th chapter, there are 5 themes that will be discussed. The first theme is Parikshit's birth, death, and dealings with Kali. So far we have seen in the previous chapters, the kingdom of Parikshit Maharaj has been described. Now in the next chapter, this is the 18th chapter, the discussion will grow further, and Sud Goswami will start discussing those events which are going to lead towards Parikshit's departure from this world, and how then Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. So those are the themes that we will discuss in the first section. Then in the second section, we will see that sages of Naimisharanya will become very excited about the prospect that they are going to hear about how Parikshit Maharaj departed from this world. So they consider the discussion about Parikshit Maharaj departing from this world, they relate it with hearing similar as Krishna Katha. So they glorify the importance of Krishna Katha, devotee association, and few subjects like that. So there are some very good verses in this section, the second section, and we will see the eagerness of sages. So the storyline does not move much in 11 to 17, but we will see some glorification of Krishna Katha, glorification of devotee association, and we see the excitement of the sages in this particular section. So we will continue to discuss that. And then the other 3 sections, which are 18 from 23, 24 to 31, 30 to 50, we will see how Sud Goswami expresses his humility and glorifies Krishna. Then the storyline continues to come again, where we discuss how Parikshit Maharaj becomes angry at one of the sages in the forest, and then he committed some offense towards this sage, whose name is Shamika. And then once his son Shamika Rishi's son understands and learns that how Parikshit offended this my father, he curses Parikshit Maharaj, and all that becomes the background for this speaking of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are going to enter into that discussion now. So as I was mentioning to you, the 16th and 17th chapter is about Parikshit activities as a king. They are discussed. So we saw that how Parikshit went on to a world tour in order to make every other king under his emperorship, in order to bring every other small king on the earth planet under his emperorship. And then while he was on the world tour, he finds at one place one blackish person, a Shudra kind of person dressed as a king, was tormenting bull and the cow. And then the discussion between the cow and the bull we saw, and then Parikshit Maharaj intervenes, and then we saw this whole 17th chapter that was we just now finished. So in this 16th and 17th chapter, Parikshit Maharaj activities as a king have been discussed. So that is in response to one of the questions that the sages had asked. Sut Goswami narrated all that. But then the discussion continues further, because the sages had also asked about how this Bhagavatam took place. How did Shukdev Goswami happen to meet Parikshit Maharaj? How all that stories they wanted to hear about it. So in order to respond to that question, this 18th chapter starts. In the 18th chapter, the main theme is we are going to discuss about those events which led to Parikshit renouncing his kingdom. So all that storyline will continue to progress in this particular chapter. So we start with verse number 1, and let us first of all decide who all are going to be with us in the recitation of text today. Let me see who are on the call. Yeah. So who would like to do it?
I like to.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
I can do also.
I like
Vanaja Mataji, and then maybe I heard Anuradha Mataji and Rakesh ji. Okay. So 3 devotees. So we have 17 verses. So roughly 6 verses per person. Okay, Vanaja Mataji.
Am I allowed?
Yes.
Sorry.
Even I would like to.
You
I
also
would
like
also
to do it?
like to.
Okay,
Yeah.
Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. So now we will give 4-5 verses to each one. Okay. So Vanaja Mataji, please read the text.
Yes. Sri Sutta Goswami said, due to the mercy of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who acts wonderfully, Maharaja Parikshit, though struck by the weapon of the son of Dura in his mother's womb, could not be burned.
So Sut Goswami is now starting the discussion, and in the start of discussion, he kind of starts to build the topic by reminding all the sages about the how the birth of Parikshit Maharaj took place. So birth of Parikshit Maharaj took place in a very dramatic way when he was in the womb of his mother Uttara. Then this Ashwathama hurled a Brahmastra, and Lord Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj in the womb of his mother. So that's how the discussion started. And so far, these sages of Naimisharanya have been very, very astonished by the narrations that Sut Goswami had given about Parikshit Maharaj. So why was the astonishment? The astonishment was about the discussion that happened between Kali and Parikshit, discussion that happened between Dharma the bull, Dharani the cow, and Parikshit Maharaj, and all those events that we discussed in 16th and 17th chapter. The sages of Naimisharanyas were very much astonished about it. Then, because they were very much astonished, even Sut Goswami was very much astonished. Mainly because Sud Goswami was very much astonished because he was also very eager to narrate about the events that led to the renouncing by Parikshit Maharaj of his kingdom. And then he starts this narration by narrating this particular verse, which arouses the curiosity of the sages of the Naimisharanya. So he starts with the narration that how Parikshit Maharaj took birth. And in this verse, while speaking this verse, he uses one specific word about Lord Krishna. He says, Krishnasya adbhut karmanaha. Krishnasya adbhut karmana. So Krishnasya adbhut karmana means that the activities of Lord are actually very, very special, very, very wonderful. So how Lord Krishna protected Parikshit directly in the womb, that is something very, very exciting. So he's trying to build up this mood where he's arousing the curiosity of the sages of the event that is about to recite. So you will see that again in the second verse when he gives the hint what is about to come in the story in the future. So Vanaja Mataji, please read this.
Consciously surrendered to the personality of Godhead, and therefore he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by the fear due to the snake bird, which was to bite him because of the fury of a Brahmana boy.
Now you will see, furthermore, Maharaj Parikshit was always consciously surrendered to the personality of Godhead. And therefore he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by the fear due to the snake bird which was to bite him because of the fury of the Brahmana boy. Now you will see here in the previous verse, Sud Goswami had mentioned about the birth of Parikshit Maharaj. But in this particular verse, he is giving some hints about the storyline which is about to unfold in the future verses. He is not narrating the whole story, but giving some hints. So what are those hints? He's saying that Parikshit Maharaj was already protected by Lord Krishna at the time of his birth. And that was mainly because of the Adbhut Karmana, because Lord Krishna performed very wonderful activities. And Parikshit Maharaj, right from the childhood, was consciously always surrendered to the personality of Godhead. He saw the Lord in the womb of his mother. He was already a devotee from his previous life. In this life also, at the time of birth, he had such a auspicious birth. And because of this, he was always consciously surrendered to the personality of Godhead. And therefore, he was neither afraid nor overwhelmed by the fear due to the snake bird which was to bite him because of the fury of the Brahmana boy. So, in the second part of this verse, there are some hints about the future events. But in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that what are the symptoms of the surrendered soul. From this particular verse, Prabhupada builds upon the subject matter of what are the symptoms of the surrendered soul. So a surrendered soul actually is never fearful by any place, by any person, or by any living entity, or even at the time of death. The surrendered soul is never fearful. And why this surrendered soul is never fearful? Because he is always assured that the Lord will always protect him. Contrary to this, when we see people in this material world who does not even believe in a spiritual world, who does not even believe in life after death, they don't think that we will continue to exist even after our death. So for them, there is no question of discussing about the Supreme Lord, spiritual world, how the soul is part and parcel of the Lord, how if the soul engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, can actually develop love for the Lord. And once the soul develops love for the Lord, he becomes fearless. He becomes really assured that his future life is going to be full of enjoyment, full of bliss, full of happiness. So for such a person of that kind of material understanding and material consciousness, it is not possible to become fearless in this particular world. But on the contrary, a devotee like Parikshit Maharaj, an advanced Mahabhagavat like Parikshit Maharaj, who is consciously always surrendered to the personality of Godhead, was never fearful. So even if in the future he is going to he is going to face difficult situation where he will be cursed by a Brahmana boy, or he will be, he knew that he is going to face a death by some serpent. He will bite. That Takshaka bird was like a serpent bird, and in the future that serpent bird will bite Parikshit Maharaj. He was never fearful. So Prabhupada gives this explanation that those people who are always surrendered, who was Narayan Parayana, are never fearful. So like this, like this, the discussion continues to develop further by Sud Goswami. So please read the third one.
Furthermore, after leaving all his associates, the king surrendered himself as a disciple to the son of Vyasa, Sukadeva Goswami, and thus he was able to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead, and at last gave up his material body on the bank of the Ganges.
Yeah. So after leaving all his associates, the king surrendered himself as a disciple to the son of Vyas. So once Parikshit Maharaj understood that his death is about to come, he did not felt any fear, and that we discussed in the previous verse. But what did he do? He immediately surrendered himself to the disciple, to the son of Vyas. A disciple to the son of Vyas, actually it is being a hint at about Shukdev Goswami. And thus he was able to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead, and at last gave up his material body on the bank of the Ganges. Now here, Vigyata Ajita Samsthiti. Here you will see in the translation, the translation says that he was able to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead. So if I read this verse, Utsrajya Sarvatah Sangam Vigyata Ajita Samsthiti, Vigyata Ajita Samsthiti. So this is the particular word that has been used in the verse, Vigyata Ajita Samsthiti. So Vigyata means knowing. Ajita means Lord Krishna. Ajita means one who cannot be conquered at any time. So this word is used for Lord Krishna. And Samsthiti actually refers to the actual position. The actual position. So once King Parikshit know that his death is about to come, he did not felt fearful, started worrying about it, going back to counter cursing the boy who had cursed Parikshit Maharaj. No, he understood that whatever is happening to him is actually the arrangement of the Lord, and he need to now accept whatever the Lord has desired for him, and then immediately surrendered himself to Shukdev Goswami, who is the son of Vyasdev. And after coming in association of Shukdev Goswami, after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami, he was able to understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead. So what do you mean by actual position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What does it mean by that? So actual position of Supreme Personality of Godhead means here is that divinity is superior in nature compared to the material nature. So had Parikshit was in material nature, had Parikshit's consciousness was materially inclined, then after hearing about his death, he would have become very fearful, but he did not become fearful. So he associated with a pure devotee like Shukdev Goswami and realized the superior nature of the divine reality. Superior nature means we understand that we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. We cannot die. And if we engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord, our future is very bright. So how can one understand the actual position of personality of Godhead? One can understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead by associating with those who actually understand the actual position of the personality of Godhead, who are self-realized soul. And Shukdev Goswami is a self-realized soul. And once we associate with a self-realized soul, how do we actually understand the actual position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Through a self-realized soul, by serving the self-realized soul. Once we serve the self-realized soul, we get his mercy. And when we get the mercy of the self-realized soul, the understanding, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, reveals himself to us. So like we study this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. If we do a small service to these pure devotees of the Lord, then a big benefit actually comes in our life, and that benefit is we become interested in Vasudev Katha. And when we become interested in Vasudev Katha, our future becomes very bright, our future becomes immortal, our future becomes eternal. So this is the main crux of this particular verse, where it is being mentioned that if we want to understand the actual position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can do so by taking shelter of somebody who is self-realized, who is a pure devotee. What happens when we take shelter of a pure devotee? We get the mercy of the pure devotee. And when we get the mercy of the pure devotee, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes favorable to us. And when the Lord becomes favorable to us, everything becomes falls in place for ourselves in our lives. Okay. So now please go to the next verse. This is the fourth verse. Yeah. This is a shloka, and we will first of all recite the shloka. This is a very important verse. That is why we have given a shloka here. We have given both Devanagari and Roman, and at the bottom we have given you the translation also. So Mataji, please recite together with me. Nauttama shloka vartanam
Nottama Sloka Vartanam
Jushatam tat kathamratam
Yastatam Tat Katam Tam
Jushatam tat kathamratam
Yasitam Tat Katam Matam
Jushatam
Yasitam Tat
tat kathamratam
Katamrutam
Syat sambhramonta kalepi
Shatyat Sambroma Natakalepi
Smaratam tat padambujam.
Smaratam Tat Padam Bhujam.
Okay. Please read from here. Yeah.
This was so because those who have dedicated their life Jastanam to the transcendental topics of personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing, and who are constantly engaged in the remembering the lotus feet of the Lord, do not run to the risk of having misconception even at the last moment of their lives.
So here Sut Goswami, after describing the first three verses about the birth, about how Parikshit Maharaj, although he was cursed by a Brahmana boy, did not become fearful, was always in a good consciousness. Now in the fourth verse, Sut Goswami is giving the trade secret, is giving the secret of how such a person actually did not become fearful. He did not become fearful. He always was in a good consciousness. So this is the verse that where Sud Goswami reveals that detail. So let us try to understand this verse one by one, line by line. Na uttam shloka vartanam jushitam tat kathamratam. So Uttam Shlok is another word for Lord Krishna. So what does Uttam Shlok means? How does it relate to Lord Krishna? It means that Lord Krishna is such a person who is glorified with choicest of poetry. So here you can see of whom the Vedic hymns sing. Choicest of poetry. Uttam Shlok. Vartanam means topics related to Supreme Personality of Godhead, to the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead. Na uttam shlok vartanam, jushitam. Jushitam is an important word in this verse. Jushitam actually means those people who have dedicated their lives. Dedicated their lives for what? Tat kathamritam. Tat kathamritam. Hearing about the Amrita, hearing about the nectarian katha of Lord Krishna. So, those who have dedicated their lives to the transcendental topics of the personality of Godhead, of whom the Vedic hymns sing. So, this is the meaning of the first two lines. Then what happens to them? Syat sambramo antakalepi. Syat sambramo antakalepi means, antakal means what? At the time of the death. Sambramo means they don't get bewildered. They don't get, they don't run into the risk of actually getting any misconception. They don't become confused. Syat sambramo antakalepi. Do not run the risk of having misconceptions even at the last moment of their lives. Why do they don't get any misconceptions? Because smaratam tat padambujam, who are constantly engaged in remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. Who are constantly engaged in the remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is the key, or this is the trade secret of not getting or not becoming fearful, or not becoming bewildered, or not becoming any confused, nervous at the time of our death. What is the key? Because if you keep yourself dedicated throughout your lives about the Kathamritam of Lord Hari, of Lord Krishna, then we don't run the risk of having any kind of misconception even at the last moment of our lives. So, by dedicated, sincere practice, we attract the mercy of the Lord and His devotees. And what is the dedicated, sincere practice? What we need to do throughout our life is Jushitam tat kathamritam. Jushitam. Jushitam means dedication. Dedication to the transcendental topics of Lord Hari. That is what is the key here. Now, we often talk about art of living. We often talk about art of living. How should we live our life? But what you will see here is the real test of art of living. How we have lived our life is actually the art of living. Art of living means how we live this world. Art of living is directly related with art of living, or I must say art of living is actually directly depending upon art of living. So if we live our life with complete dedication to Tat Kathamritam, then our end actually becomes very, very smooth. We don't have any sambramo, we don't have any misconception at the last moment of our life. So does this verse reminds you any verses from Bhagavad Gita? Does this verse remind you? Yes, Mataji.
Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastaitra sanshaya.
Excellent. Yes, that is the verse. So this is in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, I think in the 8th chapter, this verse comes. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. If we remember whatever is our consciousness is at the last moment of our life, then or if we remember Lord Krishna at the last moment of our life, then we get a similar destination, and in that there is no samshaya, there is no doubt. So although Lord Krishna speaks so many verses, so we should not have any doubt in whatever Lord Krishna has spoken. But in a verse where Lord Krishna specifically mentions that there is no doubt, then there is no question at all of any doubt specifically for that verse, isn't it? And if you see in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, after Lord Krishna speaks this verse in 8th chapter, a couple of verses later, Lord Krishna speaks another verse. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu maman nusmara yudhya cha mayyarpita mano buddhir mame vaishyasa samshayah. So this is a couple of verses later, Lord Krishna speaks this. So in this verse, Antakalecha Mameve, what he's trying to say is that if you remember me at the time of our death, at the time of your death, you will get me. There is no doubt about it. But then a couple of verses later, he gives the formula how you can remember me at the time of my death. So he's saying, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanusmara Yudhya. So while fighting this war, remember me. Engage in this war, but engage in this war as a devotee, as a devotional activity towards me. So continuously remember me while you are engaged in this war. Completely engage your mind, intelligence, completely invest your mind and intelligence while you are doing any activity, and then you will come to me. There is no doubt about it. So actually, in these two verses, what we see in Bhagavad Gita has been summarized in this particular verse. So if we dedicate our life to remembrance of Lord Krishna throughout our life, if we continue to dedicatedly do that, then at the time of our death, we will not have any difficulty. We will actually look forward to our next life. We will be eager to move towards our next life. So that is what in the fourth verse is being mentioned. Okay, now we move to the fifth verse, and our next reciter is Anuradha Mataji. So Mataji, please read number 5, and then you please read number 6. Anuradha Mataji, are you there?
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am. Please read.
As long as the great, powerful son of Abhimanyu remains the emperor of the world, there is no chance that the personality of Kali will flourish. The very day and moment the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of irreligious activities, came into this world.
Yeah. So let us take one by one. The fifth verse says, as long as Parikshit Maharaj is ruling this world, there is no chance that the personality of Kali will flourish. So what is the hint for us? What is the lesson for us from this verse? The lesson for ourselves is that even if we are in Kali Yuga, but if the governance, if the rule, if the king, if the politician, if the prime minister of the country is ruling with the principles with which Parikshit Maharaj used to rule 5,000 years ago, then there is no chance that personality of Kali will flourish. So that is the one aspect of removing Kali from this world, that our rulers, our kings, our politicians actually become Krishna conscious like Parikshit Maharaj. If they become Krishna conscious like Parikshit Maharaj, they start to value the teachings of books like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional life, divine life, and they rule according to those principles, then Kali Yuga or the effect of Kali Yuga will become very, very small, or probably it will continue to become zero. And then in the sixth verse, what is being mentioned? The very day and moment the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, left this earth, the personality of Kali, who promotes all kinds of irreligious activities, came into this world. So Lord Krishna left this planet, and then Kali came. So what does this mean for ourselves? What is the lesson for us? If we remove Krishna from our life, if we remove Lord's instructions from our life, then our life will become full of irreligious activities. If our life will become full of irreligious activities, there is no question of peace, there is no question of happiness in our life. So both these verses are joined together. If we see, what it means is we need to embrace Krishna consciousness for a very happy, peaceful living. And how do we get that happiness? By continuously embracing teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So like this, even if we are living in Kali Yuga, we can negate the effect of Kali Yuga by continuously keeping connection with books like Gita and Bhagavatam. Now you might ask, like in the fifth verse, it is being mentioned. So for example, by any chance, if we become under the influence of a king who is not Krishna conscious, and which is the general situation in society at large, in maybe in many countries, or different countries, or even in India also, the situation probably can become like that. At the moment, my opinion is that our king is very much spiritually inclined, so that is why we see the country moving probably towards in a good direction. But it may happen in future that maybe we have to face a politician where as our king, who is not Krishna conscious. In that situation, even then, we can keep ourselves Krishna conscious by personally at an individual level keeping in connection ourselves to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So the more we bring Krishna in our life, the more our life becomes peaceful, the more our lives becomes happy. So this is for 5 and 6. Now we move to the 7th one. Again, there is a verse here, and it is an important verse. That is why the Sanskrit has been mentioned here. So let us read it together. Anuradha Mataji, are you there?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Nanu dveshti kalim samrat
Nanu dveshti kalim samrat
sarang iva sarabhuk
saranga iva sarabhu
kushallanyashu siddhyanti
kushalani asu siddhanti
netarani kritani yat.
netarani kritani yat.
Yeah. So in the previous class, at the end of the class, I would Ishwar Prabhu, our Ishwar Prabhu from Rohtak, Dr. Ishwar, he asked me a question that why Parikshit Maharaj did not kill Kali or did not remove Kali altogether. Why at all he considered giving him shelter in these places like gambling and so on. So why not altogether he killed Kali, altogether avoid Kali. So we know this person is actually irreligious. This will become irreligious consequences if he is given shelter. Maybe he is given shelter only at some restricted places, but still he is given some shelter. He is still present in our society, so he can still bring harm to our society. Why not kill the person altogether? Why consider even giving small shelter to this person? So it is mentioned, the reason actually is mentioned in the 7th verse. So Ishwar Prabhu, are you there? Are you following the verse, following this verse? I'm not sure whether this Zoom user is our Ishwar Prabhu, but I expect that he's there.
Yes, Prabhuji, I was muted.
Yes, Prabhuji is there. Okay. So this is answer to your question, Prabhuji.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So what is being mentioned in this verse is, let us read from the green line. Let us read from green
Maharaja Parikshit was a realist, like the bees who only accept the essence of a flower. He knew perfectly well that in this age of Kali, auspicious things produce good effects immediately, whereas inauspicious acts must be actually performed to render effects. So he was never envious of the personality of Kali.
So Parikshit Maharaj did not completely abandon Kali, or did not completely remove Kali from the picture, because he saw some good quality in Kali. And what are those good qualities? These good qualities are, let us read the blue line. Kushalyanyashu siddhyanti. Kushalyanyashu siddhyanti means what? He knew perfectly well that in this age of Kali, auspicious things produce good effects immediately. Kushal means good things. Anyashu, ashu actually means very quickly. Ashu means very quickly. Siddhyanti means it becomes manifested, it becomes realized. So what does it mean? It means that in Kali Yuga, even if we want to do some good activity, and that thought is only at our mind, at the level of our mind. So for example, we want a thought comes to our mind that we want to maybe donate a big amount of money to maybe a very nice sannyasi or a very nice institution engaged in the propagation of Krishna Bhakti and so on. If that thought comes to our mind, maybe we don't have that much amount of money, maybe few crores or maybe a big amount of money. Even if that amount of money is not with us, only in our imagination we can think that we can have that money. But if that thought comes to our mind, and since we don't have money, we can't give that charity. But sincerely, we think that we should be giving that money. If we had that money, we would have given this to such and such person or such and such institution engaged in the propagation of Krishna Bhakti. Then simply by thinking, we get good karma, we get good reward. And on the contrary, netarani kritaniyat, whereas inauspicious acts must be actually performed to render effect. Na etarani kritani yat. So if some bad thought come to our mind, so unless and until we act upon that thought, unless and until we execute that thought, we are not going to get bad karma. So this is two important qualities of Kali Yuga, which is mentioned by Sud Goswami here, and which Parikshit Maharaj knew. So he thought that if we keep ourselves Krishna conscious, we maintain the kingdom very nicely in a Krishna conscious way, and take advantage of these qualities of Kali Yuga. Simply by thinking that we will do something good, we will get good results. And we will be protected by thinking something ill for someone if we don't act upon it. So, because Parikshit Maharaj knew that these are the two good qualities of Kali Yuga, he allowed Kali Yuga and wanted to take advantages of these aspects also. So it is mentioned here that Parikshit Maharaj was Sarang Iva Sarabhuk, was a realist, like the bees who only accept the essence of the flower. Sarang Iva Sarabhuk. Sarang means bees. So bees, when they go to the flower, they only pick up the honey. They are not interested in anything else. So when a good person, when a sadhu person meets someone else, he only picks up the good in that person. He actually forgets about anything ill in that person. So Parikshit Maharaj was like that. So he took up the good from the Kali Yuga, and then he decided that, okay, let Kali Yuga should remain in my kingdom. And then it is mentioned, Nanu Dveshti Kalim Samrat. Dvesh. Dvesh means he was not envious of Kali. Na Anu Dveshti Kalim Samrat. He was never anxious of the personality of Kali. So like this. But there is some caution here. So after you read this verse, then there is a good chance that you might start thinking that today I have to do 16 rounds. And I have sincerely think that I have done 16 rounds. I have done 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. I sincerely want to embrace this thought in my mind. So my dear devotees, please don't do like that. It does not mean that we should not do our chanting, our sadhana properly, as instructed by our varishthas, our seniors. So we continue to do all our good activities as our sadhana sincerely in the future. And at the same time, because this verse is saying that if there is inauspicious act has to be performed actually, then only it will give any bad karma. So I will once again also caution around this, that any bad activity that we do in our life, we perform or execute in our life, actually start at the level of thought first. And then when the thought becomes more strengthened, then it becomes expression. Expression means it starts to manifest in our words. And when it starts to become manifest in our words, then it starts to manifest in our actions also. So although this verse is telling us about the good qualities of Kali Yuga, but we continue to do our sadhana nicely, sincerely, and we also continue to protect ourselves from any bad thoughts that might dwell within our mind. So as a word of caution, we need to also remember at the same time. Okay. Now there is one more good quality of Kali Yuga not mentioned in this particular verse. It will be mentioned in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So 12th canto is very, very far away at the moment. I don't know whether we will even get the opportunity to do it. But hoping that we will get the opportunity, we continue to hope that. But we want to do it right now so that we don't miss that part. So this is coming from the 12th canto, 3rd chapter, 51st verse. So Anuradha Mataji, please recite this with me.
Yes, Prabhu.
This is another good quality of Kali Yuga. Kaler dosho nidherajan
Kalir doso nidhirajan
astye eko mahan guna
aste eko mahan guna
kirtana deva krishnasya
kirtanadeva krishnasya
mukta sangha param rajet.
mukta sangam param rajet.
Yeah. So what it says, Kaler doshe nidhe rajan. Oh, my dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, ocean means nidhe. Nidhe means a very big quantity. Nidhe rajan. Asti eko mahan guna. But there is still one good quality about this age. And what is that good quality? Kirtana deva krishnasya. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param brajet. Sangha, here Sangha actually means to bondage. Mukta Sangha means becoming free from bondage. And Param Brajet, Param means achieving the supreme destination. Brajet means going. One can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So like this, so you might have seen Bollywood movies. What happens is, when the heroine is surrounded by many gundas, many I would say ill people, then maybe there are 15 or 20, sometimes there are even more. Then one hero comes, and one hero is able to fight it out with all these 15-16 villains, and the heroine is saved, isn't it? Have you experienced that in your Bollywood experience? So similarly, chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is something like that superhero. So there may be innumerable thieves, there may be innumerable villains in Kali Yuga, but there is one brilliant hero available with us, and that is the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So with this hero together with us, we can defeat any other ill effect of Kali. So needless to say that importance of chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra in this particular age is so very important for us. So it can keep us away from the ill effects of Kali. And simply by chanting this holy name, we can get the benefit of relieving ourselves from the material bondage. So it was not possible in the previous ages. In the previous ages, one must has to do a lot of difficult spiritual practices in order to become free from material bondage. But since the time is difficult, then the process also has become easy. So this is another good quality of Kali Yuga which we should remember. So we have now several good qualities that we can remember. One is chanting of holy name. We can free ourselves from the material bondage, and then simply by thinking something good, we get a good reaction. And not thinking good, we don't get a bad reaction immediately. Only if we do it, then only we will get a bad reaction. But in the previous ages, if we simply think good, we don't get any good reaction. We have to do that to get good reaction. But if we think bad, even then we get bad reaction in the previous ages. So like this, these were some very good qualities of Kali Yuga, as mentioned in Bhagavad. Okay, read this 8th one, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Maharaja Parikshit considered that less intelligent men might find the personality of Kali to be very powerful, but that those who are self-controlled would have nothing to fear. The king was powerful like a tiger and took care for the foolish, careless persons.
So Maharaj Parikshit So another important point that Sut Goswami is mentioning here is that even if you are in Kali Yuga and you are self-controlled, you are Krishna conscious, you are actually following all your regulative principles well, you are doing all the instructions of your spiritual master, all the tenets, teachings of Krishna consciousness, you are adhering to them as much as possible, then you need not have any fear. So only those people need to fear who are not self-controlled, who are foolish, who does not know the importance of spiritual life, who are not devotees, who are atheists, who are all kind of people in this category maybe we may count, but ultimately who are not inclined towards spiritual life, those people actually need to be fearful. So it is something like when parents go for some picnic, and the parents have maybe few children, some are very small and some are very grown up adults, or maybe some grown up children, then the parents need to take extra special care for those children who are small, who are more vulnerable to accidents, who are more vulnerable to some misguidance and so on. So similarly, in Kali Yuga also, those people need to worry who are not self-controlled, who are not devotees, and only those need to be worried who are otherwise, who are not spiritually inclined and so on. So king was powerful like a tiger and took care of the foolish and careless people. So the king was mainly focusing his attention towards the careless people, but other more or less in general were self-controlled, devoted to the Lord, and that's how they were managed well. Like if we are law-abiding citizens, then we need not worry about income tax department. We need not worry about enforcement directorate. So nowadays, this word enforcement directorate is quite in vogue, quite in popularity in Indian politics. So need not worry about the enforcement directorate, need not worry about police. So something like that is being mentioned in this. Yeah. Now we go to our next speaker. We invite Rakesh ji to read the verse.
Hare Krishna, Guru.
Yes, Prabhu.
O sages, as you did ask me, now I have described almost everything regarding the narrations about Lord Krishna in connection with the history of the pious Maharaja Parikshit.
So here you can see it is being mentioned narrations about Lord Krishna in connection with the history of pious Maharaj Parikshit. So already, although Sut Goswami in the previous chapters have been describing mostly about Parikshit Maharaj kingdom, how he met the bull, the cow, how he dealt with Kali. And there is no direct mention of Lord Krishna in all that topics, but topics related to the pure devotees of the Lord and topics related to the devotees of with the Lord directly himself are non-different. They are same because they have the same potency to liberate ourselves, to give us liberation and so on. So both are divine in nature. So there is no difference between the two topics. Please read the next one.
Those who are desirous of achieving complete perfections in life must submissively hear all topics that are connected with the transcendental activities and qualities of the personality of Godhead, who acts wonderfully.
So those who are desirous of achieving complete perfection in life. So what is the perfection of our life? What is your response? What is the perfection of our life?
To become Krishna conscious.
To become Krishna conscious. So I can also say, so that we don't have to take birth again. Right? We go to the spiritual world to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? That is the perfection of life, Mataji.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And what are we supposed to do in order to achieve that perfection?
Do bhakti in all the instructions of the Vedic literature and Guru and Gauranga.
Yeah. And what is the most important limb of bhakti out of the 9 limbs?
Sankirtana, chanting of the holy names.
Yeah, Shravana Kirtana. So must submissively hear all topics that are connected with the transcendental activities and qualities of the personality of Godhead. So if we do this, then we get the complete perfection in our life. So do you remember any verse from Bhagavad Gita that speaks of both of these things? It comes in chapter number 4.
Talks about
That if we submissively hear all topics that are connected with the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna, then we can achieve the complete perfection in our life.
Janma karma cha me divyam.
Yes. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktam deha punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. So if we understand the transcendental nature of the birth and activities of the Lord, then we don't have to take birth again after leaving this body. So again, the same theme is repeated in Bhagavad Gita, but mentioned here also in Bhagavatam in a different way. Okay, Mataji. 11th one.
The good sage said, O grave Sut Goswami, may you live many years and have eternal fame. For you are speaking very nicely about the activities of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This is just like nectar for mortal beings like us.
Now, Sud Goswami had been speaking in the beginning. Now, Sud Goswami has stopped speaking. Now, we are moving to the next section, 11 to 17. So, we have covered the first section. In the previous section, we were mainly talking about that Sud Goswami glorifying about the birth of the Parikshit Maharaj and dealings with Kali and how he will going to die and so on. Now, in the next section, sages who have been listening to all these topics from Sud Goswami, they express their satisfaction. They give the feedback to the speaker. Like many times at the end of the class, I ask you for a feedback. Sir, how was your session? How was your experience? Then you many times encourage me. Many times you sometimes mention that, Prabhu, we could not understand this, we could not understand that. But here, the sages are giving a very good feedback to Sud Goswami. They are saying, they are feeling very, very grateful. They are saying, may you live many years and have eternal fame, for you are speaking very nicely about the activities of Lord Krishna. This is just like nectar. This is just like nectar for mortal beings like us. So nectar means what? Why Krishna Katha is nectar? What is the role of nectar? What happens when we drink nectar?
Right.
Although I have not found it so far. What happens?
to revive.
Yeah, to revive, or we become immortal, sort of. Although there is no one who can become immortal, the nectar actually gives a very long life to us.
Yes.
Nectar. So, why nectar and Krishna Katha are related?
Because they revive us to our original consciousness.
And that original consciousness is servant of the Lord Krishna and
Yes.
our eternal life in the spiritual world. So we
Yes.
become eternal by drinking this nectar. This nectar is not drink by mouth, but by mouth also. If we have offered it to the Lord, we can drink it. But in general, we drink it through our ears. So sages are enjoying the katha very much, and then they are expressing deep satisfaction to the speaker and saying that this is just like nectar for us. Okay, Rakesh ji, please move ahead.
We have just begun. The performance of this fruitive activity is sacrificial fire without certainty of its result due to the many imperfections in our action. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, Govinda, which you are distributing.
So here, these sages are sharing their feedback, sharing their experience. So what were the sages doing in Naimisharanya? They had gathered together for a long 1000-year-long yajna sacrifice. So they prepared a nice yajna altar, and they had already lit the fire, and they were performing these sacrifices. And what they mention is that their bodies have become black from the smoke. When the fire was emanating, there was some smoke also, and their faces were becoming black. But while their faces were becoming black, they were factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead Govinda, which you are distributing. So Prabhupada ji writes few points in the purport to this verse. He's saying that, first of all, we need to understand what is the real process of self-realization in this yuga. It is actually chanting of the holy names, not doing any karma kanda, yajna sacrifices, fire sacrifices. That is not the process. But many people don't know about it, so they still continue to do it. Although when they continue to do it, ultimately they don't achieve much other than their faces and their bodies become black with the smoke emanating from those yajna. And then Prabhupada also writes one more very beautiful point. He says that in comparison, in contrast with doing that fire sacrifice, they were also hearing Krishna Katha. And the effect of Krishna Katha on their consciousness has been very, very immediate, has been very, very profound. And they are mentioning, and they are very pleased by the hearing the nectarian Katha of the Lord Krishna, which Sud Goswami is distributing here. So, so what we need to understand is that Krishna Katha acts very fast, and that is the process for self-realization in this age. If we want fast results, if we want quick results, we need also to be adhering to this particular process. So it is something like the effect of Krishna Katha. The analogy is given is that once we are hungry, for example, on Ekadashi day, we don't eat for the whole day. Only one time we eat, maybe in the evening. And at that time, we are very hungry. So the moment we start to eat, our bodies start to become nourished. Our bodies start to feel satisfied. The more we eat, the more it becomes satisfied. Similarly is Krishna Katha. The more we hear, our soul starts to feel nourished. And that is the effect the sages of Naimisharanya are sharing directly with the speaker. And what they are trying to say indirectly is, sir, all these yajna sacrifice ceremony, they seem to be like a formality for us. What you are talking now about Krishna Katha, it is actually nectarian to our ears. So that's what they are saying. Okay. We go to the 13th verse. So this verse we have already remembered in our shloka memorization workshop and shloka memorization classes. So this now should become really very understanding of this verse. You already have, but now after in the context where it comes, it will become even more stronger in your understanding. So it is about the power of association. So in the 12th verse, they are glorifying Krishna Katha, and they are hearing Krishna Katha from whom? From a pure devotee like Sud Goswami. So here in the 13th verse, they are glorifying the power of association with the devotees. So please read through. Tulayam lavenapi.
Tulayam lavenapi.
Na swargam na punarbhavam.
Na swargam na punarbhavam.
Bhagavat sangi sangasya.
Bhagvat sangi sangasya.
Martyanam kimutashishaha.
Martyanam kimutashishaha.
Okay, please read from here.
The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot even be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter, and what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death.
So Tulayam lavenapi. Tula. What is the meaning of word Tula? What is the meaning of word Tula?
Compare.
Balance. Yeah. I mean,
Balance.
Tarazu. Yeah.
Balance. Compare is certainly Tulna. Comparison is actually Tulna. But Tula actually means balance. Balance. Balance in Sanskrit, in Hindi actually means Taraju. Like you have heard that movie called Insaf Ka Taraju. So there is a Taraju in the hand of that idol which is blindfolded. So Taraju is meant for doing what? There is one weight kept on the one pan, and there is another article kept on the another pan, and then you compare. So that is Tula. So here the comparison is being done. Comparison of done for what? Lavenapi. Lavenapi means moment. One fraction of a moment is compared to what? Or is balanced with what? And what is being compared? Bhagavad Sangi Sangasya. Bhagavad Sangi. What is Bhagavad Sangi? Bhagavad Sangi means devotee. Who associates with the Lord is the devotee. And taking Sangha of such a person is meaning associating with such a person, associating with a Bhagavad Sangi. So taking Sangha of a Bhagavad Sangi is actually meaning taking association of a devotee. So in that Tula, you keep a moment association of devotee on one side. And on the another side, you keep what? You keep the benedictions of achieving Swarga. You keep the benediction of achieving moksha, liberation. Then what does it say? Cannot even be compared. Cannot even be compared. So what is expected when you have this Tula on which one side is a moment association of devotees and another side is Swarga, moksha? What do you expect? The expectation is that on the side where the devotee association for a moment is kept will immediately fall down. Fall down means it will be very, very heavy. So there is no comparison at all. There is no comparison at all of a moment association of a devotee with the benediction that we get from Swarga, the benediction that we get of achieving any liberation. And then we are not interested at all about what benefit we get in the Martyanam, in this mortal world. In this mortal world, what we can get? Maybe some big car, some big house, some good wife, good husband, some big job, a lot of money. All that is something to do with this world, this material world. So we are not even talking about it. So if we are talking about, for comparison, is we are talking about Swarga. We are talking about liberation. So Swarga is for whom? Swarga is somebody who is interested in Karma Yoga or Karmis. Liberation is somebody for whom? Who is interested in Jnana Yoga. So people who are from Karma Yoga path, from Jnana Yoga path, they either may achieve Swarga, they either may achieve liberation, but it has no comparison at all with even one moment association with a pure devotee of the Lord. And this is coming from whom? This is coming from the sages who is hearing Krishna Katha from Sut Goswami, who is the pure devotee of the Lord. So in the previous verse, they are expressing deep satisfaction, as if they have eaten some nice food stuff and their heart is fully satiated, fully satisfied. And in the next verse, they are glorifying the association of the devotees. So why association of the devotees is so important? Because that association, even a moment association with a pure devotee, can arise desire for Krishna Bhakti in our heart, which is so very difficult in this material world to achieve. Bhaktya sanjayate bhakti. Bhaktya sanjayate bhakti. So bhakti takes birth only when in the womb of a devotee. In the womb of a bhakti, only bhakti takes place. Bhakti takes birth. Bhakti cannot be taken birth by karma, by dhyana, by jnana. No. Bhakti takes birth only in the association of devotees. So like this. Okay. So Prabhuji,
Yes.
we will recite this verse. Can you
Yes,
identify this verse? Which meter is this?
Rishtup होना चाहिए प्रभु.
Trishtup. Very nice, Prabhu. Very good. So you are all becoming very expert. Jivan Prabhu, is it Trishtup? Can you count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
11.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 means Trishtup, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
How will you recite this? How will you recite this? Which verse do you remember? The reference verse.
Karpanya dosho mehta Prabhu.
So can you recite Karpanya dosho? Rakesh ji?
कार्पण्य दोषो महता प्रभावा स्वभावा प्रच्छामि
Yeah.
त्वां धर्म सम्मूढ़ चेता.
Okay. को नाम तृप्येदरस्वित् कथायाम्
को नाम तृप्येदरस्मित् कथायाम्
महत्तमैकान्तपरायणस्य
महत्तमैकान्तपरायणस्य
नान्तं गुणानां गुणस्य जग्मुर्
नान्तं गुणानां गुणस्य जग्मुर्
योगेश्वराये भवपात्ममुख्याः.
योगेश्वराये भवपाद्यमुख्यः.
So after glorifying the association of devotees, the sages are now further glorifying about the uh, process of hearing. That once they hear Krishna Katha, their heart does not get satisfied. Their heart does not get satisfied. So let us understand this from this verse, and then we will conclude our class because we are running out of time. So the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the exclusive shelter of all great living beings. And his transcendental attributes cannot even be measured by such masters of mystic powers as Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Can anyone who is expert in relishing nectar ever be fully satiated by hearing topics about him? So the first line starts with Ko naam trapyed rasvit kathayam. Rasvit means what? Rasvit means knower. So one who is the knower, one who relishes the nectar of Krishna Katha regularly, who is expert in relishing Krishna Katha regularly, he will never be satisfied by hearing these topics about Lord Krishna. He will never be satisfied. Who understand what is the value of Krishna Katha, he will never be satisfied. Why? Why he will never be satisfied? Because Nantam gunanam gunasya jagmur Yogeshwaraye Bhava Padma Mukhya. Because his transcendental attributes cannot even be measured by Na Antam Gunanam Gunasya Jagmur. Jagmur. So Jagmur means measured. Measured. नापना किसी चीज को. Na Antam Gunanam Gunasya Jagmur Yogeshwaraye Bhava Padma Mukhya. Padma. The word Padma actually means here Lord Brahma. Why Padma is related with Lord Brahma? Any idea?
Because his birth took place from a lotus.
Very nice.
Navel
Very
lotus
nice.
of the Lord.
So one lotus came out from the navel of the Lord, and on that lotus, Lord Brahma took birth. So Bhava Padma. So that is about Lord Brahma. Bhava. And the word Bhava is about Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they are no ordinary beings. So Shivaji has drunk that poison that came out of the churning of the ocean. And when he drank that poison, he was completely fine. Even that one drop of that poison, if a living entity like us would drink, we will die. So he could drink that ocean of poison and could not be affected any bit. Similarly, Lord Brahma is creating so many demigods all the time. So when Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot measure the attribute, the extent of the glories of the Katha of Lord Krishna, then how can those who like the Katha of Lord Krishna become ever satiated, become ever satisfied? They can never become satisfied. So this is what the 14th verse says, no satiation in hearing. So, and Mahattam Ekant Parayanasya. Mahattam Ekant Parayanasya means for those people who are really fond of Krishna Katha, their only shelter is Lord Krishna. So for such devotees, they will never find satisfaction in hearing about Lord Krishna. So from verse number 11 to 17, you can understand that how the sages now starting to giving this reaction to Sut Goswami, the speaker, and glorifying about Krishna Katha, devotee association, and so on. So although not much storyline, but these verses are so nice, so sweet, that they inspire us to do the same, and they even strengthen our conviction about the process of Krishna Bhakti, Krishna consciousness, even much more deeply. So we will stop here because we are much above the time. There was some delay in the beginning of the class because of some last moment difficulties because of the software, this PowerPoint. So I will conclude here. We will continue to take the next few verses in the next class. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So the next class, the Mangala Sharan prayer is by Prabhuji.
Manish Prabhuji.
Manish ji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So Mangala Sharan prayer is by Manish Prabhu and summary is by
Jeevan Radha Prabhuji.
Jeevan Prabhu. Okay. So Jeevan Prabhu, are you there? Yes, Jeevan
Very
Prabhu
much.
is there. Okay.
Very
Yes,
much.
Prabhu is there. So Manish ji, Manish Prabhu ji, and then Jeevan Prabhu for the summary. Okay. Any questions? Any comments? Yeah. So once again, apologies for the mix-up in the beginning. I will try to edit the video so that that part is removed from the recording. But besides that, any questions or anything that you would like to share? How did you like the part about glorification of the association of devotees and then the glorification
Krishna.
about... Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. Very nice class as usual. Only one thing which I myself felt, and perhaps true also, that not only this association useful, very useful, it's contagious also.
It's contagious also, correct.
Yes, yes. Just as we try to avoid infections of any kind or diseases, here when we enter a crowd. But this welcome infection actually should be practiced.
Correct.
So any crowd, people chanting holy names, so it makes you also, you start, you get that rhythm and get into the flow.
Correct.
So
Yes.
I think that's the feature which is really important.
Yeah. So association, like in Bhagavad Gita, we have that verse. Dhyayato Vishyat Pumsa Sangasteshu Pajayate.
Yes.
So the moment we think about of any material activity, we get attached to that material activity. So we have discussed this in detail in our Nectar of Instruction classes, that what happens in association, what is the fundamental activity or what is the fundamental change that is going on while we are associating. I'm not talking about good association or bad association. I'm talking in general about the principle of association. So what typically happens in an association is we get desires.
Right.
So if we are associating with a criminal person, our desires also become a little bit criminal. If we are associating with a sadhu, our desire also becomes saintly.
Right.
So once we understand this science of association, how do we act upon it? We try to keep bad association away and we accept good association in our life. We avoid kusanga and we embrace satsanga. So while teaching, right now we are teaching this Nectar of Instruction to our Hindi students, and in that we are telling about that in shloka number 2 of Nectar of Instruction and shloka number 3, Rupa Goswami is both the places talking about Sangha Tyaga, Jana Sangha and Sangha Tyaga. So we are talking about, why is talking about Jana Sangha 2 times. In second verse also talking about avoid bad association. In third verse also talking about avoid bad association. It is because that bad association affects us more deeply compared to good association that affects positively. So negative effect is much more stronger compared to the positive effect. Positive effect is there, but it is slow. but negative effect is very fast. So keeping ourselves away from bad association is very, very important, while at the same time we embrace our good association. And what better good association we can have than the association of devotees. Tulayam lavenapi na swargam na punarbhavam bhagvat sangi sangasya kimatu martyanam kim utashisha. Like that.
Right. Thank you.
So now Ishwar Prabhu is going to have this mega association in Govardhan Eco Village. So he's really looking forward to it. We have shared a very jam-packed program for everyone. I think 15-16 devotees have already confirmed their presence. A couple of them will be coming for a day visit. Maybe they are not there for 2 days, but only for 1 day. So let us see how this our endeavor for on-site association comes out. I hope it will be even stronger, even deeper, and will create even much more positive impressions in your heart, in your mind, which you will take back to your own hometowns and so on, and that impression will continue to provide you enough nourishment for maybe coming months. Till then, we will plan another association like that. Yeah.
Right.
Good. Thank you. Any other question? Any other feedback? Any other remark?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Just
Vasudev.
one quick word, Prabhuji. One is we might all curse ourselves for being in Kali Yuga, but the good thing is many things are easier in Kali Yuga compared than other yugas. Other yugas you had to do great tapas and great yajnas to achieve. The same result in Kali Yuga can be achieved by Bhagavata association and Sankirtana or Kirtana. And I think this is one thing that we all should understand, because we can see this effect also. I can talk from personal experience. Once you get into this path, like you said, immediately you get automatically other associations in the same path come. That has been my experience in the last 5-6 years. Until you start on the path, you think it's very difficult. Kaise hoga, Bhagavatam is so difficult, Bhagavad Gita is so difficult, how we learn, etc. Once you start on it, then you want more of it. That is
Very correct. Very correct.
I'm seeing this with my batch of students also, same thing. So those who are hardcore, they want to continue, they want to more, they want other scriptures also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you,
Very
Prabhuji.
true. Very true. Very true. So